Welcome to the latest health news. So what do we got here? Will Google's social credit system determine your future? Okay, well, that's one thing going on. Well, what's next? Oh, what is this? Mind games. Elon Musk wants to connect your brain to a computer this year as awesome Neuralink mind chip prepares to launch. Okay. What else do we have here? Huh. Okay, Forbes. Why the companies for medical records? Oh boy. Prepare for a video I'm going to release here on this channel about the tech industry and how it's kind of involved with the health industry. Big surprise there, isn't it? Japan planning to release over 1 million tons of radioactive water into sea from Fukushima power plant. So that was something that big happened in Japan and was not on the media in the US that much at all. And yeah, that's what they're doing now. Okay, well, what else do we got? I mean, it's just bizarre, right? Rocket fuel compound found in diabetes medication. So, what's the fix to this? Well, how immersing yourself in nature benefits your health. This is the most undermined, most underrated, most underlooked aspect, I believe, when it comes to people's health. And yeah, it's just that simple, actually, that I believe it does great wonders. I mean, after all, we know that all these plants in nature, from the trees to the vitamin C that has carbon, is made up of carbon. Okay, so don't be all mad at the carbon. They need that, to survive and give us oxygen, and then they grow from that, and they become very much immersed themselves into this reality that is reality instead of this artificial reality that seeks to replace it, if you will. Okay, this technological reality that makes us look at these trees on this image right here that I see and make it look like, wow, that looks like trees, doesn't it? It looks like real trees, but it's not real trees. It just shows on the screen. It's amazing that technology can do that, but at the same time we must realize how amazing it is to the point where it's just too good to be true, right? And is it true that these are trees? They're not trees, they're digital trees. Well, anyways, getting to the point, okay, compared to no nature contact, spending 120 minutes or more in nature during the previous week was associated with a greater likelihood of good health or high well-being. Now, I'm going to promote this message often, on this channel. I'm not afraid to. I will do it all the time. You know why? Because it's so under-talked about. And people don't do studies on this typically. Okay, but the studies we do see, it's always positive. Now, you can't say that necessarily about the dieting realm, for example, in health, where, okay, you can look at low carbohydrate diets, big trend right now, and not against it either, okay? But then you look at high carbohydrate diets, and there is studies that show the same result. So you have to ask yourself, well, why is that then, okay? So there's a reasoning behind that. Right? Perhaps, it's because meat is hard to digest, so when people are eating plant-based, they're getting more enzymes in so they could digest the food. But then they have to eat more vegetables, they have to eat a lot more plants to fulfill their diet, and then they have a higher chance of anemia. But if they eat meat, okay, well, it's harder to digest, so you need enzymes. Where are you going to get your enzymes from? Unless it's carnivore, right, where you have some meat organs that have a lot more vitamins and nutrients to help you absorb more. But you say the proteins and some of the minerals that you absorb in the meat are way more potent than the plants. And that actually it doesn't raise your insulin at all, which is the main driver of obesity. So there's two arguments to be made. And there's always arguments to be made. But I don't think you can argue with the fact that nature is very beneficial for people. And the only time you can argue is when humans get involved and they start destroying nature or acting like, well, this is nature, this is a tree, when it's not. Right? Because we want to be God, so it makes sense if we're planting the trees, if we're creating these hybrid trees, GMO crops, and plants, for example. And then we're feeding that to the animals as well. So you may eat animals. Well, is that high quality animal? Does it come down to quality instead of quantity? Does it come down to quality instead of the actual food type itself sometimes? Right? So prepare for more on that on this channel for this topic, because it's very big. When it comes to food, people are so confused when what to eat, what to do, right? But this article is a good sign of saying, well, this doesn't hurt. In fact, this is where your ancestors spent all their time in. So having 120 minutes or more in nature during the previous week was associated with a greater likelihood of good health or high well-being. That's only 120 minutes each week. Okay? That's not a lot of time at all compared to what your ancestors did. But even that showed positive results. It says getting recommended levels of nature exposure weekly could result in a similar magnitude of health gains as achieving recommended levels of physical activity. Okay, and it's interesting to me that it says recommended levels. Like there's recommended levels for this. Okay, find what's best for you. You know, if you are in an office setting all day, always on the computer, for example, always next to technology, then you're probably going to want to go next to nature. You probably have your body asking you to do so. That's probably why you want to go on vacation so much, right? Let's be honest. But, you know, it says humans' alienation from nature may lead to diminished use of senses, attention difficulties, or and higher rates of physical and emotional illnesses. This makes sense. And that's exactly what you see in our society, right? People can't control their emotions. They don't know what to think. That's what I said. The confusion in the dining room all contributes as well. Diminished use of the senses. Well, the fact that, yes, you can smell, you can taste, you can feel the way you feel from the foods. You can keep track of that with a food diary. You can actually just be present for once instead of always having to go, and grab a snack, you know, probably something that's processed, probably fast food for that reason. You know, that's probably what people are doing, and it is desensitizing them. Also because there's no spices or herbs in those foods, so it doesn't open your mind to more possibility, open your mind to different DNA types of strains or different foods that have different components, right? Because if you want something different in your life, you got to do something different. And these foods, they're all unique. They all have their own compounds. They all have their own purpose. And they all work together, just like your body. And I say that a lot on this channel, but it's true. And so everything in nature works the same exact way. Basically reflections of one another, right? And in psychiatric patients, gardening led to improved mood and pro-social behavior while fostering a sense of community, belonging, and shared purpose. Okay, so that's good too, right? Is if you can get your community involved. And if you think about back then too, you also think that you had to work in nature. You know, that's where you got all your tools from. Okay, that's also where you got all your materials from. That's where you got your survival from. You know, I mean, look at family farms, and then people in the community had to work for that farm. Let's say it's a new farm especially. Well, there's a lot of work involved, you know, to create that farm. It takes a lot of effort to do that. And in that sense, giving yourself that obligation, that moral obligation to do it, you're more likely to do it, and you're going to meet friends along the way because they have to do it as well, right? So, you know, it's like saying, well, okay, who's going to build the roads if there's no government? Well, people need roads. They need to go places, right? People will build roads. They need it. You know, it's just that simple. And, you know, that's just, you know, something putting out there. You don't have to necessarily believe in that. There's a lot of community funded things too that do very well. It doesn't have to be this big federal corporation taking control of everything. And certainly not our farms or agribusiness or agricultural supplies. Okay, so your food probably should come local, should probably come closer to where you live. Makes sense too, especially when you go to your doctor and you ask them, well, I have so many allergies, and they tell you, okay, well, try some raw honey with the bee pollen, right? But no, it's especially important if it's local, because the pollination in your area. So if it's local honey, you're getting a lot of that pollen from the bees there. Very, very important. And people actually buy bee pollen straight up and add that to smoothies and stuff. Incredible stuff, right? So you don't have to worry about the sugars necessarily. But it says, although modern-day humans are unfortunately often disconnected from the natural world, spending much of their time indoors in man-made structures instead of outdoors, humans have deep connections with nature. So I mentioned things about going on vacation. I mentioned our natural sense of wanting to do it if we are in, let's say, an office-like scenario, or just exposed to a lot of technology. But, you know, we often put this on ourselves, don't get me wrong. For the most people, they're not in their office job. Maybe some people are. Okay, everybody's different here. Everybody has different environments. Some people are forced to be outside. Some people are forced to be inside. But forced, you know, forced, well, what does that mean? You know, it's come about. Okay, it's come about due to several reasons. Understand that. And that you can change that through time as well. Okay, but looking at that, okay, you have a different environment than me. That doesn't mean I can't go to nature. Okay, it doesn't mean I can't, you know, go to vacation once in a while or have a vacation at least 5 minutes. I mean, look, 120 minutes a week. That's not a lot of time per day either. Okay? So the same thing goes for exercise. You don't have to do a whole bunch of exercise. In fact, in previous videos, I showed that exercise less is more in many cases. So that way, you don't need a whole lot of exercise, especially since the World Health Organization actually recommends only 150 minutes each week. So very similar to 120 minutes each week of being outside, right? But, yeah, very similar. And if you see that, then maybe HIIT workouts then, because they're very short, they're very fast, they're very effective. You feel it, man. you do. At least for what I do, right? But it says, mental health benefits of going outside, and that's what's going on lately. Is a lot of people having a lot of crazy things happening, whether it be in their family or due to this or due to that, whether it be due to lack of sleep or, not drinking enough water. Yeah, for sure. But being out in nature is something that, I mean, people are even breatharians. They're not eating or drinking, they're just breathing because the oxygen's in the air. Okay, but they have to breathe in a really good environment like nature. Okay, because there's probiotics naturally in the soil going into the air if you live in the country. Okay, so, and if you're around the lakes, obviously, well, what's evaporation? I mean, this is the thing, right? Steam baths and stuff like that. I'm not saying you should, but they call it forest bathing for a reason, right? You're not in water, but you're bathing in this forest that has all the stuff in it. But maybe you can say that's a little compromise too if you believe in the whole chemtrail thing, right? I think it's reasonable to question that either way. Since a study published in Scientific Reports, data from 19,806 participants was included, revealing that compared to no nature contact, spending 120 minutes or more during the previous year associated with greater likelihood, yes, okay? It's important to say that that is so simple, okay, that it creates such a big impact, and they call it nature deficit disorder. Since this subject was virtually ignored by the academic world, I could find 60 studies that were good studies. Now it's approaching and about to pass 1,000 studies, and they point in one direction. Nature is not only nice to have, but it's a have to have for physical health and cognitive functioning. And it's also a have to have for physicians to promote that within their practice. And why do I say that? Because even the Western father of medicine said himself that physicians must work through nature to get to their clients. I mean, it's like a sort of a bridge. I consider it the bridge between the patient and the doctor, and the patient in nature, right? Actually the health coach can be right in the middle of both of those as well, but it's always nature at the end of this scenario here. Okay, so the health coach can be in the middle from patient to nature or patient to doctor, but nature is always going to be the end result. It's the answer, right? So another example is gardening, right? You are in the soil, you're always exposed to it, you're making it a moral obligation to do that, and it becomes part of your daily life. It becomes a routine, it becomes a habit, and that's how you make this sustainable changes, right? Because what is a habit? Most people on their phones, like, I gotta go on Instagram, I gotta go on Facebook, I gotta go on these social medias because I don't know, because you're telling yourself, like, oh, I got friends on there. Yeah, digital friends. Like, who are you talking to? That's not where real friends are. You got to talk with people in real life. You got to get out there. And then people will be more obligated to see you in real life because nobody's on Facebook anymore. It takes a movement to create a movement. It takes a movement to do this, okay? So if everybody's not using social media, what are they going to do if they want to interact with each other? They're going to see each other in real life. This is the thing, right? So yeah, well, okay, we're making it convenient to do these things, right? Like talk to one another. And someone will say, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere without my phone because, that way I'm always safe. Like, be prepared then, okay? So being ready in all situations, understand what your ancestors did, okay? Because they trained literally their whole life just to get you to where you are right now, and you're going to throw that all away, basically. And that's exactly what we're doing with the founding fathers of America, is it not, right? When we're undermining the laws that basically created this country, which were actually natural laws for the most part, like freedom of speech. I mean, that's just something we already have. It's something I'm expressing right now. And simple expression, right? The simple ability to express yourself and show your thoughts. That's something that's a human trait. It's something that's human. It's something that shows evidence of human. Okay? Now, what I say is evidence of truth is when you heal your body. Because now you found what works for you. You found the fix to your disease, for example. Or you're moving more in alignment to that fix, right? It starts with mentality, starts with awareness, then it goes to action, right? And again, making it that obligation, so that way it fulfills your life. Okay, and that also accounts for taking out boundaries that are in the way. So those boundaries may be that social addiction, that addiction you have to your phone that gives you that dopamine hit that makes you stay addicted to it, okay? You're not going to get dopamine hits eating vegetables. I get it. But you know what? You can add fats to it. Tastes good. Okay? I mean, we can really think about this situation. And we can make any food taste good. Okay? Whether it be berries or vegetables, which frankly I think they taste good within themselves. But the person who goes to fast food is not going to think that, okay? Because their senses, their taste buds are completely different. Their palate changes through time naturally when they take these small steps toward change. Okay, that's notice. If you haven't done anything yet for your health, you will notice that. Or if you decide on doing it for your health, okay? Now's the time to start. A little bit at a time. Add some turmeric to your diet. Add some nutritional yeast. Add something that's different that you know is good for you and you love and and it tastes good. Maybe it's a food you've been eating for a while but you haven't ate a lot of it and you like, man, that makes me feel good. I should probably get my hands on it. Then get your hands on it. Find a way to make it convenient so you do that. You know, you have to get a schedule. You have to put it on your shopping list. What is it that you got to do to make sure you can do it? And that's exactly what health coaching is, but it's also what self-sustainability is, and moving toward your goals, moving toward what you want in this life actionably, so then we can actually create change. Okay, and with that comes nature. Okay, is understanding what is these innate truths, what are these innate realities, what is it that the foods that are actually real, the foods that actually feed me, it's the ones that are closer to nature. Who are the people that are going to be the most genuine or down to earth or know the most about preparation and survival? It's going to be the people that live out in nature. Okay, so those are the answers then to our situation, because we're heading toward collapse scenarios or mass virus outbreaks or techno-tyrannies, okay? And that's the point of this channel. So thank you very much for listening and watching this. Please stay tuned for more content, of course, more health news, more podcasts, whatever you like. Please also comment below your thoughts on this and more. Thank you very much for watching. Cory, Edmund, Endrulat, Nature's the Answer. Thank you.